picks, top 10 matchup, Ohio State, Indiana, Saturday at noon, Ohio Stadium. Nathan Baird, Stephen Means, Doug Lesmerises. Nathan Baird, kick us off. What's the line? 20.5? Is that what we're going with? 20.5?
Still at 20.5. Yep.
All right. Buckeyes a 20.5 point favorite. Nathan, who you got?
So I'm taking IU to beat this spread, but I'm taking a 41-22 victory for Ohio State and a relatively comfortable one. So that would be a 19-point victory. I don't know that this will be a game that is in the balance in the fourth quarter. I think Indiana has talent. I think Indiana can put up points. I just don't think that they can drive consistently against Ohio State the way they're going to have to. They've taken advantage of a lot of short fields, and I don't think their defense is going to be able to slow Ohio State down for an entire game or really any more than anybody else has to this point.
So are you fairly confident with that? Like you feel good about that? Or are you like, man, Ohio State, there's a chance they win by 50?
Oh, I think that's possible. I think it's possible. But again, I'm not taking them to. There's a difference between like picking to beat a big spread. This is a big spread. I mean, it's the number 9 team in the country, which I don't vote them that high, but still, I mean, it's a good team coming in, an undefeated team that's beaten the other teams that were supposed to be good in the Big Ten this year that aren't. And you're still picking them to win by 19 points. That doesn't seem like. It still seems like a pretty confident pick to me.
I'm like basically picking the exact same thing with basically the exact same reasoning. I have Ohio State 45, Indiana 28. So that's a 17-point game, right in that same range. I think it is a big number. Since Justin Fields has been on this team, 13 games last year and 3 games this year, Ohio State's averaging 47 points per game on average. They've only had 5 games where they scored under that. 2 were against Penn State last year and this year. 2 were against Wisconsin last year. And then 1 against Michigan State last year. And the 1 against Michigan State last year, I wrote a column earlier this week where I made a comparison to the 2013 Big Ten championship game against Michigan State. The Michigan State game last year, Michigan State wasn't that good, but I just maybe think Indiana can defensively do sort of what Indiana did that game. And Ohio State just had like a couple dead possessions early. I think they started off with like a punt and then like a missed field goal and then a field goal and then another punt. I think Ohio State didn't score a touchdown on its first 4 possessions. And then they got in a roll where it was like the next possessions were like touchdown, touchdown, field goal, touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. I think that could happen. I think it might be a slow start. I think it's, again, how do you know? Oh, the week off. They didn't play. Ohio State didn't play last week. Is it rested or rusty? I'm going to lean rusty. I'm going to lean maybe just a slight lack of precision from the offense early on. You get 1 holding penalty. 1 guy drops a pass. All of a sudden you kill a drive and you're punting. I think that could happen early, which helps keeps Ohio State at 45 instead of at 63 for their final point total. And then meanwhile, Indiana just does a little bit. Not march up and down the field constantly, but I think Indiana can score 3 or 4 or 5 times. So I'm into 45-28. That's my pick. And the reason I asked you, Nathan, do you think Ohio State wins by 60 is because, I mean, obviously, I think that's on the table too. But I just think a nice, solid win that doesn't quite cover feels right to me. So I also, like you, Nathan, will take Ohio State plus the 20.5. Excuse me, take Indiana. If you got Ohio State plus 20.5, that is a good bet. If you can find that line. Indiana's a top 10 team. I'll take the Buckeyes, but I got to get 3 touchdowns, man. Come on, you got to give me 3 touchdowns. I heard this guy say Justin Fields might throw 10 incompletions. Give me 21 points. So there's me and Nathan. Meanwhile, our Big Ten picks this season, Steven is crushing us. He's 10-2. So Steven, I am betting that you are on the other side of this, and you're probably going to be right. So go explain why Ohio State's going to win by more than 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I barely. I'm 45-21 is my answer to this. Is part of the reason is I think Ohio State. This might be a game at halftime. I think Indiana might just have some things. Plus that whole rest theory. I think Indiana might be able to hang around. But I think in that third quarter is where you see Ohio State start to pull away. They get into a rhythm. They figured some things out defensively, and some of this goes hand in hand with what my game time decision is going to be. But I think Ohio State always seems to have a quarter where they just go off, especially in this Ryan Day era where they just put it all together. The defense is humming. The offense seems like it's scoring in 5 or less plays. And I think maybe a third quarter is where that third or fourth quarter is where you start to see that, where you were looking up and it was maybe, I don't know, 30 14 at one point. Indiana was maybe a score away from making this something serious, and then Ohio State just takes off. And so 45-21, they barely cover, but that's because they put together a quarter where things just start happening for Ohio State the way they did a lot of times in 2019.
I'm eager for it. You know, the Penn State game was interesting. It turns out Penn State's not very good, but Penn State had some talent. But this Indiana team, I'm curious. I think this will be a fun game to watch. It'll be a fun game to cover. Make sure you guys are reading cleveland.com/OSU. For Nathan and Steven, I'm Doug. Thanks for watching our picks video. Make sure you're also going to listen to our full picks podcast. Find that at Buckeye Talk, wherever you listen to podcasts.